I grew up in a small town on the outskirts of Pokhara, surrounded by snow-capped mountains, temples on every hill, and festivals that painted our lives with color. My name is Saanvi Thapa, and I was born into a deeply religious Hindu family. We had a small shrine in our home, and my mother lit diyas every morning without fail. From the age of 5, I was taught to bow to the gods, chant mantras, and believe that karma governed everything. And for a long time, I did. Not because I understood, but because I was told to. But something inside me always felt detached. I remember being confused during pujas. Why were we offering food to idols? Why were there so many gods, and yet none of them answered my silent prayers? At 12, I asked my grandmother why Lord Shiva couldn't stop the suffering of the poor children we saw begging in the streets. She told me not to ask such questions. "This is their karma," she said. "They are paying for sins in a past life." That answer never sat well with me. As I grew older, the cracks in my belief widened. During my college years in Kathmandu, I started reading about philosophy and science. I came across people who questioned everything, and for the first time, I dared to do the same. I started to feel angry that I had been taught to accept things without evidence. I didn't want to believe in something just because it was ancient or beautiful. I stopped going to temple. I stopped believing that touching someone's feet could change my fate, or that a ritual bath in the river could cleanse sins. I began identifying as agnostic. At least that felt honest. My parents noticed the change. My mother cried in secret. My father avoided confrontation. But I couldn't go back to pretending. I felt freer than I ever had. I didn't need gods. I didn't need rituals. I had myself. That was enough. At least, that's what I thought. It wasn't like I was actively searching for something else. I was just tired of religions that demanded my loyalty without allowing questions. I started exploring other worldviews out of curiosity more than anything. I read about Buddhism, Jainism, and even glanced through some pages of the Bible and Torah. But Islam? That was the one I had been told to avoid. To us, Muslims were others, a group apart, associated more with politics and stereotypes than spirituality. The word Islam carried so much baggage that I never even considered reading about it. But life has a strange way of opening doors when you least expect it. It happened after I moved to London for a postgraduate program in philosophy. There, I met people from every background: Sikhs, Christians, atheists, even ex-Muslims. It was during a class discussion on the clash of civilizations theory that someone brought up Islam's rapid growth and global perception. A classmate, a Muslim girl named Mariam, gently but firmly challenged several misconceptions others were sharing. Her calmness struck me. After class, I approached her and said something that now feels so ignorant. "You seem so normal." I thought Muslim girls were more oppressed. She didn't get offended. She smiled and said, "You'd be surprised how much you've been told isn't true. If you're ever curious, I'd love to share." And I was curious, but not because I was seeking faith. I just wanted to understand how someone as smart and articulate as her could believe in a religion I had always been told was backwards. So I accepted her invitation to talk. And that, unknowingly, became the beginning of a journey that would challenge everything I thought I knew. I remember sitting across from Mariam in a quiet corner of the university cafe. I came prepared, not with a notebook, but with every stereotype and criticism I had absorbed over the years. I asked her the typical questions: why hijab? Why the restrictions? Why a God that punishes disbelief? She didn't argue. She asked me to slow down. Don't try to understand Islam through the noise. Read the source. You have a thinking mind, use it. That challenge stuck with me. I didn't immediately dive into the Quran. I was hesitant, even nervous. But after a few days, I found a free translation online. I decided to read just a page. One page turned into 10, 10 into 30. I was surprised. It wasn't poetic fluff or incomprehensible mythology. It was assertive, even confrontational, but in a way that dared me to think. The Quran didn't beg for belief. It demanded reflection. It posed questions that sounded eerily like my own. Do they not reflect? Do they not see? What hit me most was the concept of Tawheed, the oneness of God. It was so simple, so clear. No confusing pantheon, no avatars or demigods. Just one infinite creator, beyond form, beyond imagination, and, more importantly, one who listens directly. I had never felt this clarity before. Still, I resisted. I told myself I was just exploring, but the more I read, the more it started to dissolve the arrogance I had worn like armor for years. There were answers to questions I had given up on, not mystical explanations or metaphorical riddles, but real, rational arguments about purpose, life, justice, and morality. The Quran didn't just ask me to believe it, asked me to witness. One night, alone in my dorm room, I found myself weeping over a verse. It was this: "And we created not the heavens and the earth, and all that is between them without purpose." Quran 38:27. It was the first time I admitted to myself, I no longer felt empty. I no longer felt directionless. But I was terrified. What would I do now? Accepting this meant letting go of the identity I had crafted for years. It meant admitting that perhaps I had misunderstood what faith really was. It took months. During that time, I fasted quietly during Ramadan just to see what it felt like. I prayed in secret. I listened to Islamic lectures late into the night. I even memorized the first chapter of the Quran. Each step made me feel more whole, but I still kept it hidden. I was afraid of being seen as someone who had converted for love, like the past. But this was different. No man was in the picture. No emotion pulling me. Only reason. Only peace. I had once left Hinduism because I felt it didn't have answers. I had rejected religion altogether because I thought it chained people. But now I was realizing it wasn't religion I had hated. It was blind belief. What I found in Islam was the opposite. One early morning, just before dawn, I stood in my room and whispered the words I had come to know by heart. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadur Rasulullah. I testify that there is no God but Allah, and Muhammad is his messenger. I said it alone, no ceremony, no witness, just me and the God I now believed in with all my heart. It felt like coming home. Today, I still carry the questions, but now they lead me to understanding not confusion. I still wrestle with ego, identity, and change, but I have a compass. And that compass doesn't demand perfection, just sincerity. Islam didn't find me because of a man. It didn't scare me into belief. It invited me to think. And once I did, I couldn't unsee the truth.